According to the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, acts of violence or neglect perpetrated or carried out against animals are considered animal cruelty. There are two main types of animal cruelty. One type of animal cruelty is neglect, which is when the animal isn't provided with basic things like food, shelter, water, and vet care. Another form of animal cruelty is intentional abuse. Intentional abuse is when someone purposefully hurts or kills an animal. One horrifying example of intentional animal abuse is dogfighting. Dogfighting is when people force dogs to fight each other and bet on the winner. How do they motivate these dogs? Savagery and brutality are beaten into them until they snap. Dogfighting is a form of abuse that wasn't fully outlawed in the US until 2008. However, illegal dogfighting operations are still going on. This abuse is intentional because the dog's owner and fight participants know what they are doing is wrong, but continue doing it. Now let's talk about puppies. Puppy mills are another form of intentional animal abuse. A puppy mill is exactly what you think it is. Puppy mills produce massive amounts of puppies that they then sell. Across the country, thousands of puppy mills contribute to an overall total of about 2 million puppies per year. Millers make a lot of money selling dogs. 99% of puppies that are sold in pet stores come from puppy mills. Female dogs usually burn out by age 5 after bearing about 2 litters a year. Unfortunately, puppy mills have been around since the early 1960s. Puppy mills are only the start of it all. Dogs are generally the most popular pet around the world, which is probably why they're also the most abused and have been for centuries. One way dogs are abused is by being killed for their fur. Some dogs get caught in wild animal traps. Some are used for inhuman testing in laboratories. A common form of cruelty is abandonment, which is when a dog or puppy is dropped off in the middle of nowhere and left to fend for themselves. These tortures aren't even a recent occurrence. The history of animal cruelty and the sport of dogfighting in particular can be traced back to the ancient times. And the sport of dogfighting can be traced back to the 12th century, after the war that followed when the Romans invaded Britain. Even though the British lost the war, they loved the fighting dogs and began exporting them for pit fights against animals like wild boar and bulls. Until 1835, when the baiting of larger animals was prohibited, these fights went on across Europe for centuries. There are many reasons why people abuse animals. For one, it is possible that the person does not realize what they're doing, or they could underestimate what their animal needs to survive. Others might think that to effectively be the alpha or the one in charge of the pack, they need to use methods of intimidation and harsh punishment to solve the problems the dog may pose. People are generally forgetful, and to some, a dog could just be another item to check off the list. Another reason could be that the person's intentions are to help the animal, but they end up hurting them. For example, people called animal hoarders have so many pets that they can't possibly care for them all. Unfortunately, the animals end up living in a place that's cramped, dirty, and unhealthy. In other cases, the culprits are usually young and they don't hurt animals for a long period of time. Most of these cases are a result of peer pressure and the inability to stand up for what they believe in, which in this case would be not hurting animals. These problems can easily be resolved by education. Some of us don't believe in the severity of a problem until we have a visual example. This is Oogie. Oogie was used as bait for a pit bull when he was only about 10 weeks old. He was bitten so hard his lower jaw was crushed and half of the left side of his face was torn off. He was thrown into a cage and left there to die. After police found the facility and sent him to a vet for surgeries, he was taken in by a loving family. He faced many other medical difficulties like infections and surgery to fix his face, but through it all, the most common word used to describe him was sweet. Oogie was one of the lucky ones, but other dogs around the globe may not have the same happy ending. There was another case that caught my attention. 15 miles from Mountain Brook, there's a place called Pleasant Grove. Late January, the owner of a mother and her 2 puppies was arrested because police found the dogs without food, water, or shelter, and weather made as low as the single digits from wind chill. The dogs were severely malnourished and had some water, but it was frozen over. A concerned neighbor called the police to report that the dogs were shivering in the cold. The owner, who came home when the police were there, denied any mistreatment of the animals. He turned himself into jail after an officer obtained a felony warrant for aggravated animal cruelty. The surgeon who obtained the warrant said, "We as a community need to look out for and protect these animals that can't take care of themselves." Whatever way you look at it, whatever reasons and stories you examine, no canine should have to go through animal abuse. Hopefully, you will be inspired. What can we do? We can't completely eradicate the problem, but we can help. Volunteer, be on the lookout, spread awareness. We can't continue to hurt these gentle creatures. Dogs may be man's best friend, but we certainly don't return the favor. I challenge you. What if we did return the favor? Thank you.